Instead of just saying, here's how you measure it, and here's the average impact on company performance, I pose the question to the students and I say, how would you measure whether your CEO is a narcissist without ever meeting her or him? And they all do their independent brain writing first and jot down their ideas. And then I call on people. And the classroom, even with 80 or 100 people in the room, almost never anticipates all the measures. They don't think to look at the company's annual report and measure the size of the CEO's photo and whether the CEO is photographed alone or with other people. Which turns out to be one of the valid indicators. The narcissists, they have bigger photos of themselves and they're more likely to be pictured by themselves, sending a clear message. I am the most important person in this company. It is all about me. They don't think to measure the size of the CEO's signature. Narcissists actually represent their names bigger. And they often don't think to measure relative pay. So in one study, the average CEO made about 2 to 2.5 times the annual compensation of their number 2 highest paid executive in the company, usually the CFO. The average narcissist made 7 times the annual compensation, feeling entitled to take more since they think they're the sole driver of the company's success. And you just see skeptics immediately get so curious. I never thought I could look for these basic cues that would not only tell me whether I want to work for a company with a narcissistic leader, but also should I invest in that company? And the data show on average that both groups are right. That narcissists drive not average better or worse performance, but more extreme volatile returns. They're more likely to win big. They're also more likely to lose big. We talk about some evidence on banks in the financial crisis, where if you had a narcissist at the helm, you actually recovered more slowly because you tended to have riskier policies and then you were slower to admit that you made a mistake. Because if you're a narcissist, you don't make mistakes. Yeah, I think that a lot of leaders have been promoted on the quality of their answers. But ultimately, their success as leaders is going to be dependent on the quality of their questions. My colleague Bob Sutton loves to measure what I think is one of the best indicators of leadership skill, which is the ratio of statements to questions that you make. And I think that if a lot of leaders were to do that analysis, and I've seen it firsthand, they would find that the ratio that they have of statements to questions is far higher than appropriate. I don't even want it to be 1-to-1. I want you to ask 2 or 3 questions for every statement that you make, because as a leader, part of your job is to try to figure out what are the threats and opportunities that are on the horizon, and then how do I leverage the best ideas around the room. Too many leaders insist on being the smartest person in the room. I think great leaders try to make the room smarter.